G'day folks, you're listening to the podcast It's the Whiskey Talking with Harrie and Craig. In this podcast we take a light-hearted look at our current favourite whiskey, things that have got us thinking lately, other things that just pop into our heads while we're talking, and matters that have slowly taken on more significance as we ease our way into the last third of our lives. So kick back, pour yourself a pleasing beverage, and join us on our search for wisdom, thinly disguised as mates having a bit of a banter. G'day, Harrie.
G'day, Craig. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you.
Do you feel like a drink?
Mate, certainly do, especially today.
I don't know if you noticed in my question if I had a little Irish lilt in there.
Well, no, it is St. Paddy's Day today.
It's St. Paddy's Day today.
I'd forgotten. I'm not wearing green. I didn't even realise till I saw the Google prompt.
And quite coincidentally, I have an Irish whiskey.
Oh, very good.
And for the reason, for the story that I'm about to tell you about this whiskey, I think we should, for at least this episode, rename it. It's the Whiskey Talking with an E.
E, yes. I saw that. Well, you sent me a brief note on this, and so I was, I was wondering what the hell you're talking about.
So there's a little bit of a story to this whiskey before we even get to the whiskey. So you know that I've been writing a book for the last couple of years with a colleague of mine, and my colleague is Dr. Marek McGann from Ireland. And he and I, we've been writing this book in psychology, which was released just at the end of last year. It's called The Great Psychology Delusion. And as part of our efforts to try to publicise that book, we have been recording a different podcast where his wife, who's also a research psychologist, interviews us about each chapter. And I said to him that I can produce a podcast because I'm currently doing this one with my mate. I told him all about this one. And, you know, he thought that, I got the sense that he thought, oh yeah, that's interesting. That's good that you got those skills and we'll be able to make use of it. But we didn't really talk anything about whiskey or he's much younger than me, so he didn't talk about retirement. But anyway, in the last few weeks I've been, we were talking about something else. And he says, that's right, a couple of weeks before, in between us talking, and then he got on, he says, oh, how you been? He says, I feel as if I've been talking to you a lot lately. I said, oh, what do you mean? He says, I've been catching up on the whiskey podcast. It's
that's
really cool.
4 people then. Five.
And so he said, oh, no, it's really good. He was talking, he'd just been listening to the one about Tracy. And then he said, I was in an email about the same time. He says, I'm going to have to introduce you to some Irish whiskies. And he mentioned this one, Redbreast 12, and another one called Misery Tears, which I thought was a great name.
It's a great Irish name.
And anyway, I said to him,
up or they're down?
I said, I haven't heard of either of those. He says, oh, yeah, well, just hang tight. We'll see what we can do about it. I didn't give it much thought. A week later, I get this parcel in the mail. Ooh. And there's a whiskey.
Beautiful.
Redbreast Irish whiskey, 12 years old.
Other listeners, take heed.
Yes. And I thought, oh, what a guy. So I knew exactly where it had come from. So I've been very keen to try this one. It's got an interesting little story. I mean, I didn't need to do any research on the tasting notes. They're all on the box.
Beautiful.
So let me read the story. The robin redbreast is the only bird which sings continuously throughout the dark Irish winter, and it's one of the very few small birds that choose to winter in Ireland. It is this enduring spirit which inspires its namesake, Redbreast Irish whiskey. Redbreast is regarded by many as the definitive expression of single pot still Irish whiskey. When the world demanded lighter, more accessible whiskey styles, Redbreast stood steadfast in its belief of the tradition and significance of this style of whiskey.
I'm loving it already.
And for the past century has remained the standard bearer for single pot still Irish whiskey. Made from a mash of malted and unmalted barley and then triple distilled in copper pot stills, Redbreast 12 boasts the flavour complexity and distinctive qualities of pot still whiskey. Matured in a combination of bourbon seasoned American oak barrels and Oloroso sherry seasoned Spanish oak butts, the distinctive Redbreast sherry style is a joy to behold in each and every bottle. So it's got just a handful of tasting notes. On the nose, it's a complex, spicy, fruity aroma with toasted wood notes evident. Okay. Taste, full flavoured and complex, silky smooth with a harmonious balance of spicy, fruity, sherry and toasted notes.
Hear, hear. Wow, that's nice. Let me just say, number one tasting notes thus far, no wank about passion fruit and bloody wood chips. No, it's beautiful.
As much as the Irish like to talk, this is very to the point.
To the point, mate. Fantastic. I think
the finish satisfyingly long, the complex flavours linger on the palate. They do indeed.
That's all I want to hear. I don't want to hear about dried currants and fruit and apple and orange peels. Very nice. Well, so that's actually, excuse me, that's actually good, because maybe we can have a couple of Irish whiskies, because another one of our 4 listeners has given me, I think we mentioned before, so a shout out to Matt. He gave me a bottle of Irish whiskey as well, which I have opened and tasted just in preparation for the podcast, and it's noteworthy.
Wow, excellent. So thank you, Marek.
Thank you, Marek.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, very nice.
So Harrie, anything been on your mind the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, we've been fairly busy. We went a couple of weekends away, which was good. The second weekend being in the caravan down to a little town south in Western Australia called Manjimup, just out of Manjimup. That was lovely. Spent time with my daughter and her partner and the granddaughter, which was lovely, in a sort of a farm type stay. Airbnb, wonderful. Then back to work, and then we've been thinking and toying with the idea of we've got a fairly big quarter-acre block. Well, I mean, fairly quarter acre, so it's the same size whether it's quarter-acre big or quarter-acre small. But under quarter-acre block in the Perth Metro, on the corner, which we've had a hedge since the kids were little. We planted a hedge, which is this viburnum hedge. And the soil and sand here in WA just gets drier and drier and less able to absorb water. So we were struggling, trying to keep it alive, and parts were dying and it was looking pretty shabby. So a little while ago we decided, wouldn't it be nice to put like a nice white picket fence around the whole area, which is about 36 metres. So it's a long picket fence. And the cost was prohibitive. And then the advent of PVC, white PVC fencing came. And so the price... I think came down, and less maintenance. I don't worry about painting it because it's never going to happen. And anyway, so when you think about doing something like this, you start doing the research as you do, and you have in mind that it's going to be cost prohibitive, and you seem to find quotes that satisfy what you believed. So they were very cost prohibitive, and I just thought I could get the stuff from over east and do it myself. Fortunately, my wife is far more attuned to my capabilities and abilities now than I am. And she said, it'll never happen. I said, no, I'll do it in a couple of days. She said, well, we just got no time. So she pushed me in another direction. She said, there's got to be a way. Someone in WA must do these fences. And I said, no, it all comes from Queensland and no one does it here. Anyway, somehow my algorithm must have rejigged itself, and I found a group in WA that did it, and I got quotes from them. So the quote from them to supply and install was still cheaper than the quote I was getting just to supply. So we said, yeah, let's go for it. Then the dilemma was, how do I get these bloody viburnums? There must have been, 100 of these bloody great things I had to rip out. And I said, I'll do it again. Tracy saw that was not going to be reality, not my reality or her reality. So we organised a guy we know. He's a very well-known tree lopping company here in WA. He sent one of his guys out with a digger, and it was all ripped out within probably an hour.
Wow.
But typical. Ripped all my reticulation up, ripped everything else. So I've been spending the last couple of weeks redoing reticulation and everything. So it's come up really well. So it's looking fantastic, even to the stage that I'm getting randoms at the stop sign across the road, just stopping and yelling out, "Great fence, mate, love your fence." People walking past with their dogs, and everybody's commenting about our fence. So I haven't paid the second instalment, paid the first instalment, 50%, so I'm tempted to go back to the company. I should even advertise them now, but go back to the company and say, hey, this is what I'm supposed to pay you. Come and put a sign out the front and I'll pay you less. But I've not got around to doing that. I think I'll probably just pay it and be done with it. But very, very happy. So it's great. And part of it, we wanted to try and get it prepared and ready for... we've got friends coming from Japan They'll be here next week, and he's a lover of whiskey as well. So that's a segue into what we do now. So he'll be here. So I won't be doing a podcast next week, I don't think, because I'll be drinking whiskey elsewhere.
Fair enough. It's great when you can get the job done by someone else.
I'm starting to appreciate that now. I mean, we talked about this before, and me being me, I like to be able to try everything at least once and see. But I'm starting to learn that maybe I don't have to.
Fair enough. Well, I've got a little bit of good news.
Good.
We've got our first email to our email address.
That wasn't family?
That wasn't family.
Why?
To one of our
winner.
Our big fans, Peter Pauly.
Oh, very good.
He claims to be our number one fan, so we won't disabuse him of that notion. On your Pete.
Yeah, exactly. What?
And he sent me something that he thought we'd quite like. It's someone's put up on Facebook a little bit of artwork that they did themselves. And although, I think the artwork is a little questionable, the sentiment that goes along with it, there's a statement. It says, "Whiskey goes in, wisdom comes out."
Mate, I saw that. That's a T-shirt. I was going to buy that. It's on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So excellent. I thought we were going to buy. I had it in my reminder. Again, I forgot. But as a T-shirt, that's a T-shirt company. So get it on our T-shirts.
Yeah, right.
Give them away to our listeners. We get
Give them away. Yeah, well, I mean, they won't come to too many shirts.
Exactly.
No, we've got over 250 downloads now so far.
Geez, all right, then maybe not give them away, mate. Give them away. Maybe have a competition. Like, subscribe, follow, and you go in the draw to win a T-shirt. I don't even know how to do any of that, so...
All right, well, this week we've got another special guest. This is a colleague of mine that I went through ECU with. He's no longer there, but I still am.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got quite a few stories to tell, and I'll leave it to the introduction. Our special guest today is Dr. Craig Valli. Craig is an old colleague of mine from Edith Cowan University, where he was a professor of cybersecurity. We first met many years ago when we were both heads of our respective schools, me of psychology and Craig of computer science. We had many faculty executive meetings together, which were fun. I think we were always competing with each other in terms of who would roll their eyes first. In some respects, I think Craig would be the perfect guest. I thought Craig would be the perfect guest for the podcast because he covers three bases. His professional background has some relevance to everyone. He is semi-retired, and he has had a health issue that we have spoken about in a recent episode. So let's start with Craig's professional background, but I'll let him speak for himself. G'day, Craig. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Craig. There's an echo in the room.
It was always a battle about who was Craig 1 and who was Craig 2.
Yeah.
So your background is in computing and education. I wonder if you could give us a brief summary of your work life.
So I'll go a little bit further back because it sort of gives you an indicator of some other stuff. So I come from farming background. We used to be beef and potatoes, and we used to grow quite a few potatoes and about 200 cows a year. So, and that was the grounding I got in terms of work ethic from my father and my mother. So, even the worst day I had at university particularly had nothing on my worst day on the farm. So, in terms of either just physical tiredness or just bad things that happened, so... that put me in good stead with coping with the niceties and the not so niceties of university.
So, you started studying.
I did a dip teach, diploma of teaching, and then in the second year they brought in a computer minor. I mean, I was truly one of the first digital natives, so to speak, or, not far off it in 1980. I started actually in chemical engineering at Curtin, and I just had a wonderful year. I passed about a third of the course and subsequently got terminated from the course. It was restrictive entry to get in. There was only 25 slots and you had to have a decent score to get in and strong math science background. So I did the old mathematics 2, 3, and the only one, physics, chemistry, economics, and English. So the old sort of from a very strong science and maths background, and my maths was, it was okay. The strongest was actually chemistry. Chemistry, yeah, that was one I missed just then. But and then I failed that, and at the end of the time, I sort of went back to the farm, and I looked around the farm, and I thought, nah. I like the farm, don't get me wrong, but it's just it wasn't me. I could have been a very good farmer. It's like most things. If you do things right and do it right the first time, or if you make a mistake, learn from your mistakes and then go again, then you're pretty fine. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, I've always enjoyed tinkering with stuff and mucking around with stuff and welding and all that sort of stuff, being on a farm, so all that sort of thing. So I did enrolled in a diploma of teaching with a major in industrial arts, or manual arts as it was better known back then. And at that stage, we didn't pick a minor, and then second year we had to pick a minor, and then computing came in. And I'd done well in the one of the things I had done really well actually in my Curtin degree was I got a very high score in the Fortran programming unit. So, there was an aptitude there. So I took, we were the first so-called computer minor through computer education. And but also at that time, the employment prospects for manual arts teachers was dwindling because of the resourcing costs and et cetera, and it just, it was the start of the transition of the economy away from building stuff to, what we do today. So, so I took a job at Mercy College up in Coondoola back in the days when Beach Road was pretty much the extremity of the Perth metro area. Co-ed Catholic school up to year 12. I taught year 8 to 12. I was the only computing teacher in the room. The school itself was a recipient of the Disadvantaged Schools funding, which allowed us to buy some computers and put in the special project. The previous teacher, I think, put in a special project, and they got a network of old micro-B computers. And I had class sizes of 30, but I used to get 2 55-minute periods. So there were 12 kids. I had 12 computers. Most times 12 were running. Because it was back in the day. And I mean, to give you an idea of how unstable they were on a hot day, if the kids were out in the playground and, there was a computing class immediately after lunch, their body heat was enough to actually make the computers reboot. So I did 5 years there and I enjoyed it. I made some very good friends from there. And then moved to my next journey, so to speak, was Newman College over in Churchlands. Did that for a couple of years, and then I was in one of the startups. We weren't called startups, in one of the businesses that had started in the ISPs. It was one of the larger ones initially. There was a critical bad management decision from the majority shareholder because at one stage we had on the table an offer to buy 50% of INET and combine our resources. at that point I decided that it was time to exit stage left. So, and I'd left teaching. So I'd left teaching that year. I'd resigned from Newman College and resigned in the September because computing teachers were hard to find. And I said, look, I'm going at the end of term. And of course, it all went sideways rather fast with the business, and then quite by luck, advertisement in paper for the head of computing at Perth College rocked up. So I then took up the role at Perth College, and the guy I used to work with, Chris Brennan, as well, my technician that I had. We did some interesting stuff at Newman College. It was an IBM trial school. The principal at the time, Brother Stephen Bugg, was very switched on about technology and that. So we're an IBM school and we had some interesting stuff happening. So it was good. And then I moved to Perth College, and I suppose, when I look back on that sort of era, in terms of monetary differences, what I had as my discretionary spend at Perth College was my entire budget for IT at Mercy College. So, Mercy College, it was in the disadvantaged school program because they were poor. The school was poor. But, I made do, and the kids, some of them have done very well. One of them, former students from Mercy, was and still is, I think, the head of Microsoft in WA. So, that's pretty interesting in terms of pathway. But also, then I had the time at Perth College, and I met my wife, Robin, there. She was head of library, I was head of IT. We used to fight a lot in the boardroom, and then I thought, oh, well, she keeps up with me and, she tolerates me. So, yeah, we married.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah, match made in heaven, yeah. And here we are almost 30 years later, still happily married. So it's all good. Then the hysteria around Y2K just, did my head in for a lot of stuff. Everything was eminently fixable. But, you just had people that run around with their hair on fire. I'm not just talking about Perth College, I'm talking about the general population.
Yeah.
One thing, out of the IT space, I suppose, that makes me laugh is the amount of people that still think that the Y2K was some great nerd conspiracy. It's the thing I think I've liked about being in computing and cybersecurity, and why I've kept the interest in it is, ultimately a computer part has two states, on or off, 1 or 0. That's it. There's no maybe chip. So, some of the behaviours of humans are definitely in the maybe category. So, yeah. And then but also when I was at Global Data Access, as it was known, the ISP, I was doing quite a bit of the security work, and the other one is, let's face it, keeping adolescents away from bad stuff on the internet is a full-time job as a computer teacher. So, learned a lot of tricks, et cetera. And like I said, I always had an interest in looking at how things worked and pulled them apart and all that sort of stuff. Then I decided to leave Perth College, and I went back and did my Masters at Edith Cowan, Masters in Management Information Systems. And then from there joined the staff through the School of Business, and I was teaching computer networking and security stuff there. Then I think it was 2000, I was approached by then Professor Watson, who was head of computer science. And I came across, and I spent 20 odd years there. Myself and my team, produced at one stage one of the top 10 cybersecurity outfits in the world. We had good connection with Interpol, law enforcement, government agencies and that sort of stuff, and had a good reputation. I think the biggest challenges whilst I was at ECU, apart from the university environment, is I think some of the personalities that exist in those places. I'm sure, and you and I are both well versed in those, and there's no need to go into it. But
the name Sheltered Workshop comes to mind.
It does, but I think Kissinger got it right too about the politics in universities being some of the nastiest in the world, and the reason is because they've got so little to fight over. There's a few corkers that always got me, and we had a secured facility at the university, and a national security facility, and I remember one of the colleagues saying, "Oh, so you've got a police clearance?" And I said, "No, it's not a police clearance. I said, it's a national security clearance." "Oh, I could get one of those." And I said, "What for?" And, they sort of said, "Well, the work I do is important." I said, "Maybe to you, but no, it's not," And so, I was, as you know, and others who work with me, I didn't tend to tolerate fools gladly. And occasionally I do the old bait and switch on them for a bit of fun, but other than that, life was too short to, one of the Murphy laws, never argue with an idiot because someone mightn't notice the difference. Maxim comes in. But, I had, some of the, I worked with some of the best people I know in the world in my academic career, and I've also worked with some of the worst, in terms of narcissism and nastiness, and you can explain so much away. I mean, I think it was you that said to me, I think it was about the second or third week, and I head in my hands, and you said, "Yeah, well, most of the people that are on the scale either do mathematics or computer science." And I said, "Oh, thanks, mate." So, and that was definitely a problem with some of them. And I'm not saying I'm not on the scale on certain aspects. I think everyone is. But, I think it's an overused phrase. And I think the same with the ADHD. It's overused. In some professions, having those abilities is actually a bonus. It's not a negative. I've had staff comment that, "I don't like that student." "Why?" "Oh, they look like a serial killer." And where do you go with that sort of comment? You just sort of go, "Well, no, he's not, and he's just different." Or she. We had predominantly, it was male. Computer science is predominantly male, and cyber security even more. Just because of the archetype, of that person that's on the scale and likes things in place, etc., etc. Used to get some pretty funny personal interactions around, "He keeps moving my pens." What? I want to get transferred to the other to my own room because people come in and keep moving my pens. So there was one part of me that wanted to go in there and move the pens myself, but yeah. But by and large, I really enjoyed my teaching career and also my research career. We did some good stuff. Myself and the team founded what became the Cyber CRC. The centre that was located at ECU, but politics of the nation ended up in Canberra. Surprise, surprise. But and that we were helped quite a lot by the ex-head of ASIO, David Irvine there. People can draw their own conclusions as they need to. But he was pivotal as the chairman, and also gave me a lot of mentoring and guidance and got us through the process. And so and the team that worked with me on it, there's quite a few people, mainly non-academics who are, there. I'm not going to start naming people because we'll be here all afternoon. But, it was different running at the initial kickoff, 6 partner universities, 83 FTE equivalent of bodies, $140 million initial starting budget, for 7 years, so 20 million a year, et cetera, et cetera. But I was also, I think one of the other bad things about universities is that, and I mean, this is the same in a lot of other businesses, so maybe it's a bit unfair separating at universities, but I was the head of school, I was the head of a security research institute, and I was head of cyber CRC. And then people wonder why I get grumpy and swear at people occasionally. It's just like
a little stretched.
Yeah, just a bit, And I look back on the hours I was burning. I was doing 20-hour days, 4 or 5 times a week. And, you can do that for a little while, but sooner or later it exacts a toll.
Yeah.
And then I suppose push comes to shove. Like I said, my behaviour was pretty apocryphal to some people towards the end, but mind you, it was a two-way street. But anyway, that's life. But in terms of that, and then I suppose I come to retirement, but it's semi-retirement, but I'm doing stuff trying to help people secure their cyber stuff and that sort of thing. And
so you're still involved in cyber matters then?
Yeah, so the business that I run with an ex-PhD of ours as well, Adrian, Safe and Secure Cyber, is around helping people secure their computing from, attackers and that sort of stuff. A lot of the, and that started about when I was exiting ECU. Essentially, I started setting up the bones for that. It's not earning great dougs, but then by the same token, we haven't really pushed it. So, but we're at a stage where we need to now, and we've got everything settled and ready to go. Sort of ready. Well, we've been ready to go most probably for 18 months, but other things have interceded, so it's been good. But
so, in your time in looking at cybersecurity, have the threats changed?
Oh yeah, look, the only thing I was reflecting on this because you asked about it, and the thing is, the only thing I'd say that has changed is not much. It's from when I started in this space, so to speak, 30 odd years ago. It would be, it would be a bit more than that actually. That's scary. Put me at 26. So whatever, 61, 35 years ago. I think one of the things that has changed is the totality of the coverage of bad behaviour, and also the fact that it's gone from pockets of people that knew how to break systems to you now with a credit card. If you're silly enough to give your credit card to a known criminal gang, you can go and buy software to destroy someone's life. So part of, but also too, the other thing is that people are, I just can't believe how the sheer acts of bastardry that humans perpetrate on each other. We've in the business for Safe and Secure, we help homeowners and that sort of stuff, but the predominantly standout bad cases of bad behaviour are ex-partners, and some of these ex-partners,
ex-romantic partners,
or ex-partners like wife, husband and wife, or in one case it was two males. But the thing was, it was it becomes acrimonious, but somehow people think that if they do shit on the internet to someone else, that it has no chance of getting caught, and B, it doesn't really hurt them, or I was only just joking, or it was laughs, it wasn't anything. But then we get to read some of this absolute tripe, and I mean, I've got a fairly wide range of languages, and and a reasonable sense of humour, but some of this stuff is just really, Craig, to me, has been abhorrent. purported to have loved this person, yet you now see it's fine to actually, in a few cases, generate AI images of them being, sexually assaulted by something. We won't go much into more, but you get the idea. And then distribute it to family and friends. And you think that's okay behaviour. No, it's not.
You can hardly call it a joke.
No. And I think, what is it? Minister Winton had the best word for that. I think the word's arsehole. But, and the part of the problem is they do this, they perpetrate this stuff. Police are, it's a matter of prioritisation. I mean, there's computers and phones that have to be analysed as a result of, say, a rape or a murder or really bad domestic violence. That's going to take priority about someone saying, it's a form of domestic violence to abuse someone. But, I'm not saying to try and lessen it, but at the end of the day, if someone's been stabbed in domestic violence outcome, I think that would take priority over someone calling them, names and that sort of stuff. But I think the thing that has blown my mind, and as you know, it takes a little bit, is the vociferous nature of these people, how they do it 24/7, 365, and it's unrelenting. It's you mole, you bitch, or whatever, and vice versa, and images and abuse, and then using the kids as vectors to get to the other partner, or in the case of the partners have separated and the other one's trying to make a fresh start and that sort of stuff, so they find out who the person is and then send them all the pictures and all that sort of crap. So all of these things are offences, but getting the time to prove it, and it's expensive, and if they do it right, they can cover their tracks, or, they hire the other one is they hire someone, cybercrime for hire. And I think one of the things about that hasn't changed, and I think it's bad, is that people still refer to people as hackers. They're not, they're cyber criminals. And you've got to use the phraseology. If you call someone a cyber criminal and their behaviour is criminal as opposed to, oh, you're a hacker, it's a totally different mindset. So
do you have any advice for our listeners in terms of keeping their digital assets safe?
Yeah. So the first thing is make sure you have a long and strong password. And I'll give you the tip, 15 characters or less is not strong. You're better off to have 30 to 50. And worst case scenario, write them down, put them on a piece of paper and lock them in a safe. But you got to use really strong passwords. Don't repeat the same password. Don't, let someone use your phone, because you don't know who that. We've had actors that have done that. Oh, lend your phone, Oh, yeah. Or, in the case of the marriage breakup, they've used the kids' devices, the kids' iPads, or the kids' phones or devices to get at the other partner's equipment, So it's like the enemy within. It's really quite disappointing. Make sure you do your updates. You've got to do the updates. They don't send you, the companies don't spend millions of dollars producing updates for you to ignore them. Just do it. The other one is make sure you've got reliable copies of stuff that's precious to you, and don't leave it on another device that's online. Put it onto a hard drive and put that hard drive in a safe at home, or use a safety deposit box and put it in there. But the other one is, just don't do dumb shit. And like, for instance, this said to turn antivirus off. No, or, I just completed this quiz. Oh, and what did it ask you? And it asks you date of birth, name of your dog, all of these things people use for passwords. I had a friend who thought he was quite funny, but he says, oh, yeah, I just use stars for my password. What? Oh, so when they break my password, all I see is it's 8 stars. When you type asterisk, so when you type in, you see the asterisk, it's 8 asterisks. I said, no, and I think, the other one is, with trade and stuff like that, if it's a bargain and it's too good, don't do it. And look, the thing is that cybercrime, I can remember having a conversation with an ex-deputy commissioner of police. He used to work for us at one stage, and he said back in the day, when it was Perth crime, if there was a robbery or something, and a particular type of robbery, they tended to know who it was that had the skills and the tools and the tactics to do that. So they then go and, inquire with them, and sure enough, they'd often turn up the family. But I think the thing he said that was quite difficult about cyber was it's, anywhere from any place, anyone who's used an internet-connected device. And I think the other thing that's changed is that, coming to it, is the global nature of the cybercrime, and that I used to say to my classes, everyone raves about the Chinese hackers and that sort of stuff. And I said, let's do this as some simple mathematics. I said, there's 1 billion of them, right? 1 billion Chinese. At that stage, there was about 20 million Australians. I said, so for every one of you, there's 50 bad Chinese trying to break. And they're just looking there. And I said, that's what you're up against. I said, when you're on the internet, and it's true, today, when you're on the internet, over more than half the world's population today will use the internet or a device on the internet. That's a big number. It's 4 billion. And if you actually do what I call the arsehole quotient, even at 0.1% of 4 billion people, that's a lot of people who are real arseholes. And so, not using antivirus, not using firewalls, not using countermeasures. Now, the good thing is a lot of those things are now enabled in your phones or your computers, particularly if they're a new one. So don't go turning them off, but a lot of people do. Or the other one is they'll download free software that if they had to buy it legitimately might cost them $1,000, and then they wonder why their bank account's cleaned out. So it's sort of it's
some of it's pretty obvious. Isn't it?
Some of it's obvious, and other stuff is completely sneaky. The stuff with AI and the voice stuff now is just dynamite. This conversation, this podcast would get both of us in trouble in terms of someone to be able to grab it, get our voices and do voice authentication, etc., and all that sort of stuff. So, and I think that's the other one. If something's precious to you, don't just rely on one sort of countermeasure or, a password or whatever. Use encryption or store it somewhere else or store it offline. Use some other method of protecting yourself. And the same with your banks. Go to your banks and make sure there's a maximum withdrawal limit on your account. You can always walk in and get the bank to change it there on the spot for a transaction that's over something like that. But, get that sorted so that you're minimising your loss. I think for one of our accounts, it's $4,000. That's it. If you try and take any more than $4,000, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
So, but just being careful about stuff is just, and the same with the RFID bags and the RFID, protecting that and protecting your fobs and all that sort of stuff. That's real. It happens. They will walk through a crowd or an airport with a scanner on, they'll scan all your credit cards. And then they use it like that. And to the criminal, this is just a means to an end. And, the banks have a hard time tracking this stuff. And, look in miscellaneous losses in most of those banking sheets, and you'll see a fairly big number, and most of those miscellaneous losses are going to be cybercrime. So.
All right, well, let's leave cyber security for a moment.
Yeah.
So you left ECU a few years ago now. I guess you wouldn't really call it a retirement, but more a mutual decision to part ways.
Yeah.
So prior to that happening, did you think about what retirement might look like for you? Had you started planning for it?
Yeah, I had actually. Ironically, I had made my mind up that last year, when I turned 60 in February, would have been my last year at anything. I had decided when I was about 57 or 58 that 60 was the limit, and I was starting to mentally prepare for who's going to be the successor for this and whatever else and that sort of stuff. So I was doing some succession planning. It was in my head, but sooner or later it would have come to fruition. Because all jokes aside, if you've got a successful institute and a successful whatever else, you've got to plan for legacy moving forward.
So that's planning for for your job. Did you plan for yourself of what you were going to be doing in retirement?
Yeah, a little bit. I knew I'd still want to keep actively engaged in something, even if it was volunteering, assembling computers and helping people that way, and doing... I'd always done pro bono work in my professional life because, that came really from actually both sides of the family, from the Italian side and particularly my Australian grandfather, Percy Dunning. He instilled in, and I think in my cousins as well, that not everything's about making a buck. And you can get some of the best joy in life you can get is actually helping someone for free and seeing them prosper. So, I did a fair bit of pro bono from time to time in my professional career. And so all I was going to do was, we had a generous superannuation program at ECU, one of the good benefits. And that's, I'm sitting here quite happy. And if I'm not, then I'm just greedy. But I'm not greedy. So, but yeah, I was looking to do sort of that sort of work where you actually can help people for free that can't afford it, that still need protecting. Even with this, we don't make much profit at all out of the current business. And I'm not phased, and Adrian to some degrees, but he is now because he's younger and, he needs to get some money. But, it is what it is. And, but no, I didn't see myself just stopping dead, so to speak, and taking up basket weaving or something. That's not me, So I've got my other obsession, as you know, is cars.
Yeah.
So, as I've often said, the only thing that comes in 2 litres that's any good is milk. So,
so when you were thinking about what retirement might look like, did you have any anxieties about it?
No, because it's like most things. Life's a journey, and you can either sit there and panic about it, or just and the best laid plans of mice and men always go astray, as last year's outcome for me definitely pointed out.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm still thinking about the transition to retirement. Did your workplace give you any advice about how to prepare for retirement?
No.
I knew the answer to that, but I just like to hear
it didn't. And I think also one of the other big problems at most of the Australian universities, and I can say this with some authority, having worked with 6 other universities in the CRC, universities give very poor career advice and also preparation for their staff to retire. What are you going to do? All that sort of stuff. It's just like, you're there one day and it's gone the next. And you and I both witnessed that with people. It's just like that. And one of the ones, who was a fellow head of school was Barry. Bumped into Barry the other day in Leederville. We had a good yak for about 15 minutes, laughing our asses off about certain people and stuff. And we planned to catch up. But, that was, in terms of that, Barry was there one day, Barry was gone the next, So, I don't think I'm universities do that particularly well. But also too, this whole concept of people work until they're, what was the guy, 98 or something?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still useful. Well, yeah, you are, but you've had your day in the sun. And the same with me, I've had my day in the sun. I don't like the sun anymore. It burns. And you've got to also, well, particularly in my industry, it 3 to 5 years is a complete generational change of stuff. So definitely, no, I had in my head, I had made the transition in my head, 60 is it, start preparing for your way out. I had no desire to kickstart a second or third career. That's sort of changed now a little bit, because one of the things we were successful at was starting up a thing called Sapien out through ECU. It went sideways 2024, and what's old is new again, and here we are. So I'm still working with major partner that we had before, and we just finished the big build up and minimal viable product, as I talked about before. So here we go. But even that, I put limits on it, and I've said to the partner, I said, look, 63, I'm out. I've done my time, and he agrees. So, and also too, in the semi-retirement phase, it's 3 days a week, 6 to 7 hours a day. More leaning towards the 6 these days. And you got to put one thing. I think the university taught me, and how busy I was with my schedule. You have to put limits on yourself and limits on other people in terms of, no, I'm here from 9 till 4. If you ring me at 5 to 4, I'll book you in an appointment for tomorrow, but I'm not going to speak to you past 4 o'clock.
Yep.
And you've got to give yourself hard deadlines, and not be a bastard, but you have to stand up. And I think people who are worth knowing respect that.
Yeah.
Other people who aren't worth knowing are the ones who will harp and carry on and call you passive aggressive, or in my case, aggressive.
So often when someone retires, their roles at home can change, and this can often create a bit of conflict with their partner.
I don't know.
Say this while Robin's out of the room.
Yeah. She's most probably listening.
Have these sorts of things changed for you and her while you're now not working full time?
Oh, not really. I perceive nothing, but I mean, I'm not good on that stuff. So. but no, it's it's not a. Well, obviously the job was very demanding and very stressful on us, in terms of the relationship. I'd come home, as some nights wouldn't be here. I'd leave here at 7 in the morning and I'd still be on a teleconference at 10 o'clock at night talking to the Americans. So, all that stuff disappeared, and it's been good. We've been spending a lot more time, it's like when we were first married.
Yeah, right.
In some regards, we're spending a lot more time together doing stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So now it's normally at this time that we ask guests about whether they've had any lessons, or they've got any lessons they've learned about giving themselves the best chance of a long life. But I know you've just had a recent experience that brought that question into sharp focus.
Yeah, it did.
I wonder if you would tell us about that experience, Craig.
Well, I'd been experiencing pain, and I'd had trouble with my gallbladder before, and I thought, it's my gallbladder, and it'll be all right. And, I'd take Panadol and the pain would go away. Turns out it wasn't my gallbladder. And so my cousin Mark's a surgeon, and I had a melanoma on my chest that we'd excised, and he got the pathology done, but just to make sure we'd go in again and get some more. So I was up there at one of the private hospitals here in Perth, and I've been feeling shithouse for about 6 months, really low on energy, really tired, all that sort of stuff. I mean, you look back in hindsight and you think you bloody idiot, but anyway. Anyway, the lady called me over, Dr. Valli, we've got to just finalise some of your admission. Could you sit there? Next thing I wake up, I'm on a gurney. well, I was was unconscious. I mean, it's all still a blur. I mean, I had the heart attack. And so one thing I did learn is that our hearts, like cars, like nitrous oxide as well. And that was quite a bizarre experience. How's he going? Give him a bit more nitrous. And I felt it, in terms of, and what the nitrous oxide does is open all your veins up and lets the blood flow. So I'd had a heart attack. Luckily, I was a lucky bugger. One of my friends said, I'll go and buy a lottery ticket. And I said, what for? I just used up all my luck.
Yes.
And the nurses and some of the staff there had been triage nurse, very competent people. So I was in good hands. It was, so, it was dark. It was cold. So there was no
light at the end of the tunnel.
No light at the end of it. It was dark and very cold, Craig. Yeah. So, as I've always thought. I think the thing that freaked me the most about that was the fact that I couldn't move any of my limbs, and it felt like someone was pushing me down. So, and then eventually I got movement back and that sort of stuff. I've experienced pain before in my life. I mean, I've actually been, being a farm boy, I've been kicked in the chest by a bull. This felt 10 times worse. Wow. And all I felt was a sharp pain, and then I lost consciousness, obviously, but it was like, wow. And so I had the heart attack on the Friday, and then I had another heart attack apparently, because it was all very fuzzy, because of course you're under heavy medication and stuff and all that. And then my surgery was going to be the next Saturday, but they brought it forward to the Tuesday, cracked me open like you crack open a coconut. 3 ribs or 4 ribs cracked, and open heart surgery for 7 hours.
Wow. No
apparent damage to my heart muscle, which is amazing. Lucked out again. So, and have been in recovery for the last 6 months. It's been slow. It's been hard. But I'm still breathing and walking. It's good to be alive. But that was, it was inevitable in some regards, given my family history, that it'd be a heart attack or a stroke, or, that I'm diabetic and that sort of stuff. I wasn't well-managed diabetic. That was, a lot of the causal links come back to one thing, and that's me. So it's been a bit of a, come to whatever God you believe in moment. I don't believe in any, so it's all good. But, the biggest one has been the adjustment, but also the effect it's had on others around me.
Yeah.
So I won't go into too much detail, but it's actually interesting having watched some other people's reaction to me having had a heart attack, and like, oh fuck, all of a sudden, they can't cope with it mentally. It's like, what happens if he has another heart attack? And I just said to one of them, I might die. And he just said, but no. I said, eventually we all die and we all go different ways. Yeah. And I said, I saw my father die of a heart attack, and I've seen other people die of cancer, and I don't want to go via cancer. Thank you very much. So, but
I guess an episode like that can, as you've been saying, can lead to a change in perspective about life.
Oh, well,
have you had any epiphanies worth sharing or realisations about yourself?
Yeah, quite a few, but most of them I'll keep to myself. But the thing is that, if people thought I was belligerent and uncaring before, they really haven't experienced it. But no, I just, you knew me from before, never sweat small stuff. I always didn't, and it's just like, and that more so into focus, don't sweat the small stuff. And if something's giving you the shits, or something's really eating at your soul, and there's a lot of you who are most probably listening to this that is the case. As my grandfather used to say, for fuck's sake, make a change. I mean, you just, the only person that can make that change is you. And I think that's the other thing, the outcome from this. You know, people have been saying, oh, you'll have a heart attack. You know, good on you, Nostradamus. But you know, that's, you know, and take ownership of your own shit, you know. So, you know, one of the nurses was trying to give me a lecture, and I just put my hand up and said, listen, I know how I got here. It's no mystery. I said, but I said, they were choices I made. Do I regret some of them? Yeah. Can I change them? No. Can I change them going forward? Possibly. And she looked at me funny. She said, well, you must. And I said, why? I said, give me a good reason why. Oh, because you'll die. And I said, and? And she was quite taken aback with the fact that I challenged her and said, you know, because you'll die. And? You know?
Yeah. I mean, we're all going to die.
Yeah, we're all going to die.
It's a matter of when and how.
When and how, but, you know. And I said to her, look, you know, I'll just, you know, the same as any other day, one foot in front of the other, and let's keep moving. You know, take and listen to people's advice, particularly, you know, learn the people that are trying to keep you alive. So I've done that. I'll continue to do that. But yeah, don't sweat the small shit, and don't not have love or passion in your life. It's just fucked if you don't.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the thing with people. It's you know, it's so, like my Noel used to say to me, he said, Craig, some people like wallowing in their own shit, and I've never been one to be that. And he said, you know, you just got to make the best of what life gives you. So, I mean, this was a man that he was in the Italian Alpini regiment and ended up in Abyssinia, and they moved in and take him home in his battalion. They brought him over here because they were possibly up for war crimes, you know. So, you know, he's seen the worst of humanity. And, you know, like he said, and the other thing he taught me was, when you're shaving in the morning, if you can't stand looking at yourself in the mirror, it's time you fixed a few things. So, yeah, you know, but just simple stuff like that. And I think also, you know, saying don't go to bed angry is bullshit, because sometimes you do need to go to bed angry and wake up angry and still be angry. People are afraid to be sad or angry or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with it if it's a lifestyle and it's been going on for the last 3 years, you know. So, but, you know, like I said, if something's making you sad or angry, change it. Or if you can't change it, do something else to change it, or find something else to distract you.
Yeah.
But the other one is also own your shit. Far too many people these days say, oh, like, fucking get over yourself. You know? It's no.
All right. Well, I think that's a great note to finish on. Lots of good advice and great stories there. So thank you very much for sharing all of that with us, Craig, and good luck with the continued recovery.
Thank you. Yep, no problem.
Okay, well, that was really good. Craig's got a lot of stories to tell and quite a colourful way of expressing them.
Mate, I love the guy. He is so good. He's so, how can I say, irreverent, probably. I mean, he knows his stuff, but he really cuts through the shit.
Yep. That's the way Craig's been for as long as I've known him, and probably stems from his farming background.
Yeah, totally. Exactly
call
right.
A sheep a sheep.
Yep, exactly right.
I thought some of his early stories about technology were pretty funny. It really made me chuckle to hear that the body heat of the kids coming back from lunchtime would make the computers reboot. Computers in those days, they were so fragile. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I like one of the things I liked was the false economy that he mentioned, where he said that so many people and even large corporations will not spend money on fraud protection or on the true legitimate software, and so they'll go out and get a cheap or a free version online. Rather than spending their $1,000, I think he said they'll get a cheap version or free version online, only to lose over $1,000 in fraud.
Yes. Yeah, so many corporate and political decisions seem to be that short-sighted, don't they?
Oh, mate. Well,
Don't get you started.
No, don't get me started. Some banks are doing that at the moment.
But yeah, he had quite a lot of really good tips about how to be cyber safe. I mean, some of the obvious ones that we all hear over and again about long and strong passwords, and don't lend your phone to anyone, and do all your updates. But there's lots of...
Actually, the phone was a good one, wasn't it? Especially when you say if you got a relationship split, a marital split, and the kid's phone, the kid's phone, go grab your phone if you're the malicious party and you want to try and check on the wife or something else, or check on the ex-partner.
Yep.
I liked also, for me, it was, which I'm looking at grabbing, is one of those, is it RFID or RFDI, whatever, those wallets. Because I've got a great wallet. I'm happy with my wallet now. It holds a few cards. I don't need to carry much cash anymore because no one uses cash. But I am mindful that I think probably because I carry it in the front pocket now rather than the back pocket, so it's probably less prone to be scammed or scanned. But I still think it's probably worth having a look at some of those. And I've got a birthday coming up, so I'll speak to Tracy, see if she can buy me one. And the other thing that I really liked at the end of it was where he basically said, which I've always held to this as well, there's this warm, airy-fairy, don't go to bed angry. And I've always had a problem with that, because sometimes I am angry when I go to bed, and I loved what he said. He said, no, bullshit, go to bed angry, wake up in the morning and sort it.
Yep.
Because you can't sort it when you're in bed. Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's a falsehood to, especially with the partner, say, oh, no, you can't go to bed angry, because sometimes you are. Sometimes you can't resolve it. And I'm the sort of person, if I want to go to sleep, I'll go to sleep. I don't care if I'm angry or not angry. I'd be more angry being awake trying to resolve an issue than leaving it in the morning and resolve that issue. And I think we talked about this before, how you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, many mornings thinking, oh, I've got to sort this, I've got to sort that out. And you think, what the fuck? How am I going to sort it now? And let you lie there awake. And I do know the symptoms now. I'll sweat and everything else, even if it's a cold night. And I think, why? I can't fix this problem now. When I get up in the morning, I'll deal with it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm happy to go to bed angry if I have to.
Sorry, Tracy.
Yeah, sorry, Trace.
Yeah. So, I mean, Craig's a big one for not sweating the small stuff.
Yes.
He always has there was one of his great phrases, which he didn't say in the interview, but I do remember him saying it on many occasions, was that he refers to people who do sweat the small stuff as spider fuckers.
Mate, I love him. I love him even more. He's a great bloke. I'd love to have a beer with him one day. Maybe a whiskey.
Yep. So, and I guess generally, don't wallow in your own shit. If there's a problem, fix it up.
If you can't fix it, move on. I've always been that one. I mean, I see a lot of people, they spend so much time worrying about worrying, and I think you're not going to fix it just by worrying about it. If you can fix it, fix it. If you can't, move on.
Yeah, that's right. Life is definitely too short to worry too much about things. And as Craig realised after his heart attack, that things can happen in a moment, so you might as well not be wasting all the good times that you got.
And it's unfortunate that for many people, it takes a health challenge or to reassess those things. Sometimes you think, wow, I feel better. I'm better because this has happened. It'd be good if you could be better without it happening. Yeah,
well, I think, I don't know about you, but I've heard so many stories recently of people whose lives have been affected by a health issue, either ended or being seriously affected, that I've been taking lessons from their experiences.
Yeah.
So thankfully I haven't had to experience it directly myself, but some of these stories have really got the wind up me, and I've really started to appreciate what's around.
That's right. And then life gets in the way and you forget about it again. So I think it's up to probably each of us to keep each of us on track. So that's what I hope I can do, and you do the same. So look, just remind me, mate, it's bullshit. Don't worry about it. Move on.
Yes. All right. Well, that's got us all being very philosophical. It's a perfect thing to do on St. Paddy's Day.
Oh yes, happy St. Paddy's Day. Well, cheers. Happy St. Paddy's Day.
We'll finish
some
off
more whiskey.
this Irish whiskey.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
It's the Whiskey Talk. It's written and produced by Craig Spielman and Harrie Swanson. All music is written and performed by Craig Spielman. The audio was recorded at The Wardrobe in Perth, Western Australia. We value your feedback about the show, especially any information you can provide on issues we've discussed that we can share with our listeners. We'd also love to hear any whiskey recommendations. Our email address is whiskeytalking@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We all benefit profoundly from more listening.